Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving deep into the story of a small but stunning stamp, a piece of art, a piece of history, and a piece of royal memory, all rolled into one. This is the story of the 1963 British stamp issued for National Nature Week, a beautifully designed 4½ stamp that featured the young Queen Elizabeth II alongside a vibrant showcase of British wildlife. Now, at first glance, this stamp might just look like a colorful design with animals and a royal portrait. But trust me, it's so much more. It's a reflection of the United Kingdom's growing awareness of environmental conservation in the 1960s. It's a stamp that helped carry a message far and wide, a message that said, nature matters. Let's begin with the context. In 1963, the British government and nature groups across the UK organized National Nature Week, a large-scale educational campaign to get the public involved in protecting the environment. This was decades before climate change was a headline. Back then, the focus was on protecting local flora and fauna, educating school children about wildlife, and encouraging people to enjoy and preserve the countryside. As part of this effort, the Royal Mail issued a commemorative stamp to support and promote the event. And that's where our stamp comes in. The National Nature Week stamp was designed with care and purpose. It features a vibrant red-orange background, almost glowing with energy, symbolizing life, growth, and the warmth of nature. Across the stamp, you'll notice a selection of animals carefully placed to represent Britain's natural beauty. In the bottom left corner, there's a detailed image of a badger, one of Britain's most beloved and iconic wild animals. Its black and white stripes are immediately recognizable, and it represents the forests and meadows of the countryside. Just above the badger, perched on a delicate white branch, sits a small pink songbird, perhaps a finch, which adds a soft pop of color and movement. Nearby, a yellow butterfly dances through the air, a subtle symbol of fragility and transformation. At the center of the stamp, a beautifully colored woodpecker or blue tit perches proudly, its blue wings standing out boldly against the background. And on the lower right, a softly glowing orange rabbit, covered in white spots like starlight, adds a magical, almost fairy tale quality to the design. Above it all, soaring through the top center, is a small yellow bird in flight, the only animal not resting, perhaps representing freedom, motion, or the natural world in action. Now, balancing all this life and nature is the regal profile of Queen Elizabeth II, placed in the upper right. Her youthful portrait, set in a soft oval frame, wears the crown with dignity and calm. Her inclusion isn't just symbolic, it reminds us that the monarchy was actively supporting conservation efforts. Queen Elizabeth was deeply connected to Britain's lands and people, and her presence on this stamp reinforces the message: nature is a national treasure, and its protection is everyone's responsibility, from the crown to the common citizen. And if we look at the denomination, 4½D, or 4½ old pence, we get a glimpse into a bygone era of British currency, before decimalization in 1971. While this small value covered the cost of everyday postage back then, today it reminds us of how postage stamps were part of everyday life. They were miniature messengers, traveling across cities and towns, carrying not just letters, but ideas, identity, and, in this case, a love for nature. From a design perspective, this stamp is masterful. It's colorful but balanced, busy but not crowded. Every animal is carefully placed, the flora is softly stylized, and the red background holds it all together. The contrast between wild animals and the elegant portrait of the Queen makes it feel timeless, a bridge between tradition and the natural world. Now let's talk about value, not just financial, but emotional and cultural. In today's collector market, a used version of this stamp, one that's been postmarked and passed through the postal system, might sell for about $100 to $250. A mint condition stamp, and used and clean, could be worth around $300 to $700, depending on its condition and whether it's sold alone or with others. If you have it as part of a first-day cover or a special issue presentation pack from 1963, the value could be higher, reaching up to $1,000 or more. But here's the truth: many collectors don't just collect for money. They collect for meaning. And this stamp is full of meaning. It speaks to a time when Britain was waking up to the idea that its natural landscape wasn't infinite, that forests, animals, and birds needed care, attention, and protection. It reminds us that before social media, before hashtags and online campaigns, there were small tools like this, stamps, quietly traveling the country, promoting awareness and pride. For collectors who focus on royalty, this stamp is a must-have. For those who focus on wildlife, it's a beautiful early example of nature-themed philately. And for those who simply love good design, it's a wonderful mix of color, symbolism, and charm. This stamp also holds a place in the larger story of Queen Elizabeth II's early reign. She had only been queen for just over a decade when this was issued. The 1960s were a time of change, socially, politically, and environmentally. And yet, here we see a moment of calm, a moment where Britain paused to look at the countryside, to admire its creatures, and to share that admiration through a small piece of paper that would travel across the world. As a collector, when you hold this stamp in your hand, you're holding more than just a collector's item. You're holding a memory of a national campaign, a symbol of environmental pride, a portrait of a young queen, and a beautiful piece of graphic art. So next time you see a used stamp on an old envelope or in a dusty album, don't overlook it. Ask yourself, what story is it telling? Whose hands did it pass through? Next up, the 4D Christmas stamp featuring an angel in traditional folk art style, issued in 1968. Now this isn't just any Christmas stamp. It's part of a beloved annual tradition that began in 1966, when the UK started issuing special stamps each year to celebrate the Christmas season. And this particular 4D stamp from 1968 stands out even decades later. Why? Because it captures not only the holiday spirit, but also the charm of folk art, the power of design, and the quiet strength of royal symbolism, all in a single, stunning image. Let's take a closer look at the design. Set against a warm red background, we see an angel, designed in a bright, folkloric style. Her robe is beautifully decorated in blue and white patterns, resembling hand embroidery or delicate porcelain, inspired by traditional Eastern European or Scandinavian folk designs. She holds a golden star or wheel, perhaps representing the Star of Bethlehem or the Wheel of Time, a symbol often used in ancient and religious art. But the most striking part of this angel is her wings, large, green, and filled with vivid floral details in pink, purple, and white. The wings feel alive, like leaves or feathers in motion, giving the angel not only grace, but also a sense of flight, of energy. The overall effect is not just peaceful, it's joyful. It feels like a celebration. To the right, we see a simple, gold silhouette of Queen Elizabeth II, positioned within a red and white arched frame. Back then, 4D would cover the cost of sending a standard letter during the Christmas season. So this stamp wasn't just beautiful, it was practical, useful, and part of everyday holiday communication. Millions of people would have used it to send cards to loved ones, making it a cherished part of family traditions. Now let's talk about the story behind this design. The artwork was created as part of a national competition, which was common for UK Christmas stamps in the 1960s. Some years, the designs were even made by children, but in 1968, this angel design was created by an adult artist named Adrian George, whose use of folk inspiration made the stamp stand out from the rest. The vivid red, the stylized angel, the balance of ancient symbolism with modern simplicity, it all made for a memorable, uplifting stamp. The stamp was part of a set of two. The other 1968 Christmas stamp had a value of 1 shilling and 6 pence, 1s6d, and featured the three wise men in a similarly colorful folk art style. But it's the 4D angel that truly captured the public's heart, probably because it was more widely used and more accessible. Now let's talk about value. In today's collector market, a used version of this 4D Christmas stamp, especially one with a clear postmark, typically sells for about $100 to $300 depending on the condition. If you're lucky enough to have a mint condition version, and used and perfectly preserved, it can be worth around $400 to $800, and of a time when people slowed down to handwrite holiday wishes. It represents a world where design mattered, where even a simple letter became a canvas for beauty and celebration. The 1968 angel stamp also reflects how the monarchy supported and celebrated national culture. Including Queen Elizabeth's silhouette, even in a festive design, was a way to remind the public that these stamps came with a royal seal. It added dignity and recognition to a cheerful image, and helped bind the country together during the holiday season, no matter one's background or beliefs. And here's something else to appreciate: the size and boldness of the design. Unlike many stamps that are small and subtle, this one bursts with color. It feels like a miniature painting, carefully crafted for joy, wonder, and faith. Whether you're a philatelist or just someone who loves Christmas, it's hard not to smile when you see this angel. So if you're building a collection of British Christmas stamps, this 1968 4D angel should definitely be on your list. Next up, the 3D purple commemorative stamp issued by the United Kingdom in 1960, a beautiful tribute to the General Letter Office, the ancestor of what we now know as the Royal Mail. This stamp might be small in size, but its history stretches back more than 300 years. The design commemorates the founding of the General Letter Office in 1660, a key moment in British communication history. The year 1660 wasn't just the year after the end of Oliver Cromwell's rule and the beginning of the Restoration under King Charles II, it was also the year the British postal system was formalised under government control. Together, they form a bridge between 1660 and 1960, between horseback messengers and a world of airmail, telegrams, and international post. Beneath both images, in a classic script, are the words, 3D General Letter Office, a reference to the denomination and the occasion. 3D stood for 3 old pence, which was a common postage rate at the time for domestic letters before decimalization in 1971. This 3D stamp wasn't just a work of art, it was a proud celebration of postal progress. When it was released in July 1960, it was part of a national campaign to honor the tricentenary of formal postal service in Britain. Collectors, historians, and ordinary citizens alike appreciated the design and the story behind it. Even today, this stamp is highly regarded for its symbolism and layout. But what makes this stamp even more valuable is its connection to the evolution of communication in the United Kingdom. Before 1660, the postal system was fragmented, often unreliable, and mostly used by the wealthy. After the establishment of the General Letter Office, the mail became more organized, more affordable, and available to more people. Over the centuries, innovations like the penny post, uniform postage rates, and stamps themselves all grew out of that first step in 1660. This stamp is not just a tribute to Queen Elizabeth II or to history, it's a tribute to the millions of ordinary workers who carried letters through rain and snow, sorted post by hand, and helped connect people across the country and around the world. So, it can be worth $1,000 to $2,500 or more among collectors of British postal history. Of course, value isn't just about money. For many philatelists, this stamp is a cornerstone of their UK collection. It represents the deep connection between the monarchy and the people, the importance of communication, and the progress of a service that touched every home in the country. It's a piece of living history, from the days of horse messengers to the modern post. It's also worth noting the design's elegance. The purple ink gives the stamp a royal feel, while the composition shows the care taken to honor tradition and future at once. Unlike more colorful modern stamps, this one carries a quiet power, a respect for the past that still feels meaningful today. If you're building a thematic collection on royal history, postal service, or even Queen Elizabeth II stamps, this 3D 1960 commemorative is a must-have. It's beautiful, affordable, and packed with meaning. And it reminds us how something as small as a stamp can tell a big story. Next up, the 1958 3D British Empire and Commonwealth Games commemorative stamp, a regal purple gem that captures the spirit of athletic competition, national identity, and global unity. Whether you're a philatelist, a sports historian, or just a curious mind, this is a story you won't want to miss. Let's begin by setting the scene. The year is 1958. It's a post-war world in transformation. The British Empire is slowly evolving into a global partnership known as the Commonwealth of Nations. Against this backdrop of political change and renewed cooperation, Cardiff, the capital of Wales, plays host to a major international sporting event, the 6th British Empire and Commonwealth Games. Held from July 18 to 26, the 1958 Games marked a turning point. For the first time, the event was officially known as the British Empire and Commonwealth Games, reflecting a broader, more inclusive vision for the former British colonies and dominions now working together in partnership. Over 1,100 athletes from 35 nations competed in a wide variety of sports, from athletics to boxing, from swimming to weightlifting. It was a celebration of friendly competition, shared values, and cultural pride. To honor this significant event, the UK's Postal Service released a 3D purple stamp, and this is the stamp we're exploring today. At first glance, this stamp is eye-catching. To the right side of the design is a royal portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, framed in an elegant oval. Wearing a tiara and pearls, she represents the unity and continuity of the Commonwealth. Her presence on the stamp reinforces the connection between the monarchy and the Commonwealth Games, which were first launched under King George V in 1930. Beneath the design is the denomination. 3D, or 3 old pence, the standard postage rate at the time. The stamp is printed in deep violet, giving it a regal, almost ceremonial appearance. The use of a single color with fine detail adds elegance while keeping the production cost low, which was a smart move for mass circulation. But the value of this stamp goes far beyond its face value. This issue holds a special place in British philatelic history. It was one of the earliest commemoratives celebrating an international sporting event, and certainly one of the first to highlight the growing importance of the Commonwealth as a symbol of unity and shared culture. The 1958 Games were the first to be held in Wales, and the choice to honor them with a national stamp showed pride in hosting the world, not just in London or England, but in every part of the United Kingdom. The Games themselves were a great success. Notable athletes like Herb Elliott of Australia and Mike Rawson of England left their mark on the international stage. The spirit of fair play, determination, and respect ran through every competition. For many participating nations, this event was a chance to shine on a global platform, and for Wales, it was a proud moment to be in the spotlight. Now let's talk about the collector's value of this stamp today. If you own the used version of this 1958 3D stamp, its market value is typically modest, around $150 to $300, depending on the condition and clarity of the cancellation mark. However, a mint condition version, and used and in excellent shape, is worth $500 to $800 in today's collector's market. A first-day cover bearing the official postmark from July 18, 1958, can fetch $1,500 to $4,000 or more, especially if it includes the original game's cachet or souvenir card. But for many collectors, the true worth lies not in the price, but in the meaning. This stamp is a time capsule, a reminder of how the world was changing in the 1950s, how sport brought people together, and how stamps were used to celebrate those connections. It's also a fantastic example of mid-century British design, combining historical symbolism with national pride. Whether you're building a collection based on royalty, sports history, Welsh heritage, or Commonwealth events, this stamp is a must-have. It's beautiful, it's significant, and it tells a story that stretches from the castles of Cardiff to the shores of Canada, the stadiums of Kenya, the pools of Australia, and beyond. So, next time you flip through a stamp album or see a 3D violet stamp tucked in a dealer's corner, take a closer look. You might just be holding a piece of international history, a dragon roaring across borders, bearing a message of unity, strength, and friendship. Next up, the 1961 Post Office Savings Bank Centenary Stamp, issued to mark 100 years of one of Britain's most accessible and trusted financial services. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just beginning your journey into the world of philately, this stamp offers more than just its printed value. The floral structure also suggests strength and rooted tradition, hinting at how deeply embedded the savings bank had become in British society. Surrounding the entire design are the words, Post Office Savings Bank Centenary 1861 to 1961, wrapping around the Queen's image and the symbolic flower. On either side, we see the denomination, 2½ reflecting the pre-decimal British currency still in use at the time. Printed in bold red and black, the stamp carries a striking contrast that draws attention while also symbolizing urgency, seriousness, and pride. Red was also commonly associated with the British Postal Service, further enhancing the connection. Now let's talk about the historical significance. By 1961, the Post Office Savings Bank had over 22 million accounts, and was handling savings from a broad cross-section of the British public. It had become an institution of trust, used by schoolchildren, pensioners, civil servants, and working families alike. It offered interest-bearing accounts, savings certificates, and was seen as a safe and patriotic place to keep your money. During both World Wars, it played a key role in national finance, helping fund the war efforts through public savings drives and government bonds. But again, the true value of this stamp lies in its story, a story of how Britain moved toward a more inclusive financial system, and how the post office played a part in changing the lives of millions. From a collector's perspective, this stamp is perfect for anyone building a theme around Queen Elizabeth II stamps. Banking and finance history. Post office commemoratives. Social reforms in the UK. It's a classic in design, rich in heritage, and beautifully symbolic. So, whether you keep it in an album, display it as a framed piece, or use it in a historical collection, the 1961 Post Office Savings Bank stamp is a reminder that sometimes, the smallest deposits, and the smallest stamps, carry the biggest stories. Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you enjoyed this deep dive into another classic British stamp, please make sure to like, subscribe, and click the bell icon so you never miss a story. Let us know in the comments, do you have this stamp in your collection? What do you think about the legacy of the Post Office Savings Bank? Until next time, remember, every stamp is a window into history. And this one reminds us how saving a little can build a lot.